We're just past the one-year mark from the election, and the country seems to be as divided as ever.
Not just in time for the holidays. It's going to be great. You're going to have a great time. Uncle Bob, talking about you here, when politics often creep into the conversation. In our Relationship Reboot, we're getting some advice about talking across the political divide at the Thanksgiving table. Joining us now, relationship guru, Dr. Kirsten Lynn Seal. Kirsten, great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Every family goes through this. Some of my fondest memories as a teenager was when I was old enough to engage in kind of the political discussions at the table. It was very fun.
Right.
But it can be really tricky,
It can be really tricky. And recently we know that things, people have sort of really started to pull apart. And so tempers can flare, and especially after a couple of glasses of red wine.
Right. The aggression starts to show.
The aggression starts to show. So,
I mean, this is probably going to happen no matter what. Things just come up. So what are some ways to make sure that you're being respectful and that you're not starting like a family rift that's, going to result in passive-aggressive Facebook posts for the next couple of weeks?
Exactly. Well, first of all, these skills are all for face-to-face conversations, not for online, because online is a whole different thing. And generally, we recommend to try not to have conflict online over this. Anyway, so the first thing is you want to try to set a constructive tone. And one of the first things that's important about that is you want to make sure that the person you're talking to does want to hear your point of view. Right?
Sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't. You also want to make sure you're doing a one-on-one, right? Because that's better. But so set a constructive tone. You want to listen in such a way that the other person feels heard, which is sometimes you can reflect back, or did I hear you say? Again, with a neutral tone, not with a, I can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
How could you?
How could you possibly? Right.
There are certain phrases that are triggers and that are probably not. Assuming that everyone's on the same page and wants to have a pleasant discussion.
Right, exactly. I mean, one of the things, if things really boil, like handling difficult moments is an important thing to think about. And so if things really start to boil over, one of the things you can say is just, well, I think we'll just agree to disagree on this, right? Which is interesting, because you come to agreement within your disagreement. But either way, the tone is really important. Your own ability to feel calm is really important with this too.
Let's talk about, I think that one of the hardest things about saying that is that everyone wants to have the last word, and that's something you say to remember.
Yeah, you have to people don't want to be thought of as, stupid or bigoted or, any of these things that might fly out, or, bleeding heart, or any of these sort of, phrases that we use that are sort of denigrate, each other. One of the things that's important is the timing, sort of when you might bring this up. The other thing to remember is that to really leave aside any expectations that you're going to get the other person to change their point of view, right?
Not trying to change it.
Exactly. And the thing is, most of us start out conversations hoping to persuade the other person, which is different than starting out a conversation trying to figure out what the other person thinks and really listening to what they're saying.
Yeah, and that involves actually listening, right? And not like preparing a fire with your second point.
Right. Don't be like listening to the Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. My line, here's what I'm going to say. Yeah. So
you love these people. Like these are your friends and family members.
Yes, exactly. So you're having a conversation about a difficult topic with people that you care about, which is different than having conversations about difficult topics with people you don't care about, right? Or just, sort of.
Then you can fire away.
Exactly.
So at what point should you say this is no longer constructive?
Right.
We're starting to kind of go down that slope.
Right.
What are there some key things you should look out for?
Right. Well, I would say when people get red in the face, that's a really good one.
Like a physical reaction.
Like a physical reaction. Absolutely.
People have it too.
When we get angry, we get hot. Like, I was hot with anger. We actually get hot. And so when you're feeling, so your awareness about yourself, that's key as well, which again is why we want to recommend having these conversations with not many cocktails inside you or glasses of wine, because alcohol is a disinhibitor. And so then all your sort of carefully planned things might fly out the window.
Good stuff to remember. You can always talk about the weather, Kirsten.
Absolutely.
Sure can.
Boy, real sunny today, isn't it?
A little cold outside.
Sure
What's the winter going to be like?
Thanks, Kirsten.